have to be very careful about the whole practice thing. I mean, obviously, if you're trying to learn an instrument, it's incredibly important that you have the necessary motivation in the first place to carry it through. However, lives are busy these days. Children have got lots of schoolwork to do, and they need some downtime as well. So, it's very important that teachers shouldn't put too much pressure on their students to be practice. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, there becomes this association that practice is work. If you don't do the practice, you feel bad. That has another negative vibe on the whole drum thing or whatever musical instrument it is. So I think it's important to be relaxed about practice. Do it when you can. Make the time available, short chunks. I don't think it's good to sort of have bad vibes about practicing.
Okay, don't stress about your practice.
Don't stress about your practice. Do what you can.
What are our lesson objectives for today? How many have we got?
Well, today we've got another 3 lesson objectives, and we are moving forward through the pathway, again, taking it step by step. You will recall we've already introduced quarter notes and eighth notes.
Yes, I remember that.
Splendid. So we're now going to introduce 16th notes. All right, okay.
Right.
Then what we're also going to do is we're going to develop the single stroke roll that we introduced in lesson 2. And we're going to do that in the same way as we did in lesson 2 by applying that to our 16th notes as well. And then what we're going to do, we're going to take a little move of direction away from grooves. Well, we're still going to use grooves, but we're now going to introduce another part of playing. Drumming is made up fundamentally of groove playing, whatever style of music, and then fills.
Groove style and fills.
Yeah, grooves, whatever style, and fills. So the fills are the kind of ornamental playing, the excitement that's created with the music, buzzes that create a vibe when you're changing between verses and choruses, and very important part. The ability to be able to play grooves and fills is an essential part of a drummer's armoury.
Repertoire.
Thank you.
Arsenal.
Yes.
Treasure chest.
Yeah, so I was just going to try and say Queen's Park Rangers there, but perhaps that's not appropriate to get that in after Arsenal. Moving on. Okay, so what we should do is get down to business with the understanding 16th notes. Recap very quickly. Quarter notes are worth 1 beat each.
Yes.
Yes, 4 of those in a bar. Eighth notes, there are 8 eighth notes in a bar, and they're worth half a beat each.
It's easy for you to say.
Well, yes. And 16th notes, well, we've now got 16 of those in a bar, and they're worth quarter of a beat each. Let's have a look at the computer. Let's have a little look at the example that we have here and see if that helps us understand it. So quarter notes here with our count underneath, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes.
Then underneath here, we've got eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and.
And that's how we count it, always striking down on a word, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and.
Now what we've got here in 16th notes, we've got a slight change of appearance, and we've also got an extra couple of
little wordy sounds.
Well, little wordy sounds to introduce us. Well, what I'd like to say is that the quarter notes are the same as they are for the first 2 bars. So the beat, 1, 2, 3, 4. The ands are effectively where the eighth notes would be in the eighth note bar. And then what we've got here is where the note represents a quarter, we have the E, and then where it represents 3/4 of the way through the beat, we have A. So effectively we've cut the note, a quarter note, into 4 quarters.
Yes.
So we've got 1, E, and Now we say that because it's easier than saying 1 and a quarter and a half
and another 1 and then coming up to 2.
So that's hard work. So we've got this little vocabulary, this little language that we've got now, so that we can count 16th notes reasonably fluently once you get used to saying E and A. 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A, 4 E and A. Make sense?
It does make sense. And what I would say from a personal point of view is don't forget the bits after 4. Because you might think, I've got to 4, I've stopped, but then there's the E and A.
Oh, that's absolutely correct, which brings you back to the beginning of the exercise. Now, quite often that's very confusing for students. They get to here and they forget that although the exercises carry on from here, it's, in terms of moving forward, the next note is really here.
Yes.
That's where the next 1 is. So it follows on immediately afterwards. Okay, so we know what they... the values of the individual notes, and we also know how to count them.
And we've seen how they look as well.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to go on to explain about how they look, because they are very similar to the eighth notes. The difference being here, well, let's have a look at the similarities. We've got a note head and we've got a stem.
Yeah.
We've also got a bar or a beam, but we've got two of them.
Yes.
Okay, now that is a very subtle, when you just take a cursory glance at a note, that's a very subtle difference, but it's a fundamental difference. So a couple of facts. Eighth notes have a single tail, and 16th notes have two tails. So that applies right across the board with 8th and 16th notes. So that's how you can distinguish between them. One tail for the 8th notes, two tails for the 16th notes. No tail for a quarter note.
Exactly, and here we've joined them up, so they're in units, as it were.
Yes, I mean, it's common use here. The protocol of scoring out the notes is that we've divided them into beats. So it actually divides the bar quite conveniently into the 4 quarter notes. This is why I think it was extremely important to start with quarter notes, because when you're looking at a bar of music and you're trying to assess it quickly, what's in the bar, you can see that it's compartmentalised fundamentally into quarter notes.
All right then, enough talking.
Good.
Let's hear it.
Great. Okay, well, what I'd like to do, as always, is have a look perhaps at the single stroke roll and an application by using the video. So what we're going to do is use our single stroke roll, right, left pattern all the way through, and watch the video to see how that comes together. Here it comes now. Quarter notes.
Yep.
Eighth notes.
Speeding up.
Well, 16th notes. Not speeding up as such.
Oh, yes.
You're playing.
You picked me up on that there.
Well, you're playing more notes. Okay. The tempo remains consistent, which is essential when playing music. The tempo remains consistent, but you are dividing the bar up into smaller subdivisions, and therefore you're getting more notes.
Yes.
So that's what gives the impression of playing music more quickly, and that is how rhythm is created, by using different subdivisions. So even at this very, very, very early stage, we're actually introducing some quite complex rhythmic structures, which you're going to rely on very heavily as you move on through the course.
All right, move on.
Yes.
To that drum kit over there.
Shall we do that?
Let me hear you play.
Let me hear me play this. Okay.
Let me hear you say it.
Well, absolutely. It's a struggle, isn't it? I'm going to play this on the snare drum.
Yeah.
But as always, what I'm going to do is I'm going to enlist the assistance of the extractor, get some timing and playing going together. So we'll load it up here. We'll get it blaring out. We'll listen to what we're supposed to do so we can hear it nice and clearly, and then I'll join in. All right. And have a look for any technical points that you then want to pick up or question me on.
I'll be looking very closely.
Okay. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and a. One and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and a 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last time. Make sense to you?
It does make sense to me, and what became
thoughts?
apparent when I was watching you is that you have to be having that count in your head to always bring you back that 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, I think what's crucially important there is that you can hear what you're doing very clearly, but the counting in the head, I'd take a step further and make another point. I also use my foot as a physical motion. Sometimes counting your head isn't reliable enough. And also, I count out loud as well, so that I can hear where I am counting. I'm actually articulating what I'm hearing in my head. So it's not, I wouldn't rely on just having an idea of the tempo in your head. I would articulate it physically, because when you're playing, you're articulating the sound and the pattern and the timing out loud. You're actually making physical motions. So by moving your lips in time, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, I mean, that has to be as accurate as you're playing. Yeah, and when the two are tied together, you're beginning to get to that point where you're really developing a nice, strong sense of time.
And obviously, you're right-handed. You started with your right hand.
Yes, absolutely.
If you were left-handed?
Well, if you're left-handed, the same as with the eighth notes in the example that we looked at there when developing the the eighth note patterns is you're looking to start using your strong hand, your lead hand as it's often referred to, and that would be starting with the left. So perhaps we finish this part by having a look at left hand and perhaps recording a pattern into here. See how we get on.
Okay.
See if I can play it a little bit better. Here we go.
The clock's against you because it's nearly time for a break, but I'm going to let you do it.
I'll be very quick. 3.
But you won't be speeding
4,
up.
1 and 1 hopes not. 3 and 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a... So we just have a little listen?
Yes, let me have a little look.
So there's the result from that performance.
You did very well.
Well, not too bad. I mean, we got 33% because I didn't finish the exercise. What that doesn't tell me is that there are a couple of uneven notes because I didn't quite strike them in the same dynamic range. So make sure you listen back to your exercises.